Hey everybody, welcome to the Tim Kulig Free Music Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Kulig, and today I have none other than Alex Nakarada. What's up, man?
Yo, what's up?
Not much.
Not much. I realized that if I want to stand like straight in front of the computer, my microphone arm is not long enough, so I have to like stand off a little bit to the side. But I guess that's fine. I can do like this actually.
I guess it's like I'm getting that profile view of you. You're like, look at me, super. You got this whole thing. Is your camera movable? Because seeing your new studio would be totally freaking cool.
Okay, I'm gonna step away from the mic for a bit and show you guys around.
First of all, look at all those axes, dude. That's just
awesome.
Right.
So let's see. Okay, so I have painted the walls. They're very painted now.
Nice.
With like this very cool mineral paint. I didn't know that was a thing until very recently, where you get like texture in the paint.
Okay.
And see, I got this new extremely huge desk, which is maybe a bit too big because the screen is now so far away that
you're going to have to get like yourself a bigger screen now.
Yeah. Can you hear this, by the way?
I can hear you, yeah.
But can you hear the instruments? Okay, no, that's good. So, I got this wooden panel thing on the back, and I have the lower raised desk so I can stand up working, which is actually a game changer.
That's great.
And some percussions, electric guitars, airsoft gun, whiteboard, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Pick up something. Get out of here. Yeah. Well, you wish. It's not.
Really?
It's gone-ish.
It's not?
It's not. But it's way better. Yeah, I'm feeling okay.
I've had this congestion thing going for easily a month
or
so. And it's probably a similar thing.
Yeah.
I never got full on sick, but it was one of those things where like 3 or 4 days I was super fatigued and I was like, I'm just going to freaking sleep for a long time.
The fatigue is the worst part because you're like, you're feeling fine-ish, but you're just so damn tired.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, plus you don't have any sunlight right now in the upper regions of.
Doesn't really help.
You're a stone's throw from the Arctic Circle, so
yeah, it's pretty dark. I mean, now it's dark.
Yeah, what time? You're 5 hours ahead of me. 6 hours. I forget.
It's 4.
Yeah, so it's pitch black, right?
It's not pitch black. It's getting brighter, but it's not. It's like what's it called? Like the post or the pre-darkness periods, when it's like
dawn and dusk.
Yeah,
that
like
whole
dark blue.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, this room is like, I don't know, 28 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, so you're fine.
I'm
fine.
sweating in here, man.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, that's true. 28's getting up there, right?
That's too high for most people.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much spring, and then summers can be in 30 plus down in Florida.
Shut up.
Well, to be fair, my blood and everything else has thinned out since I moved down here. And when you get ocean breezes in the winter down here, it's a completely different feeling. Now, people say like we're all just complete wimps, right? They're like, okay, so it gets below 60 degrees and you need a hoodie. Ooh, poor baby, right? Come live here for 12 to 18 months and then tell me if you need a hoodie, because you do. It's weird. It's very strange.
I get it.
It's a cold 55. Like you go outside and you're like, what? How is that even possible?
I know. But it's the same way for us. Like the human body and temperatures, it's a weird subject.
Yeah.
Because it's like when we get the first below zero, we're freezing. And a month later, when it's like minus 20, it feels exactly the same as it did when it was minus 2. It's just weird. We adapt. We adapt slowly.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the lunatics from I'm going to isolate and alienate any audience that I might have up in Maine right now. But the lunatics up in Maine that come down, even like down to Connecticut during the winter when I was younger, they would come. It was like January, February, and it's like 20 degrees out Fahrenheit, right? So
that's
minus
cold. That's cold.
I don't know, -2, -5 Celsius probably. They'd come down and they're in like a t-shirt and shorts, and I'm like, okay, are you all right? Like what is happening?
Yeah, it's weird.
But again, when your blood's super thick and you're able to like tolerate it, it's a whole different environment. So one thing I want to talk to you about today was I went to Podfest, which, let me back up because we haven't talked in a bit. So Podfest is the longest running, continuously running podcasting expo in the world, right? It's been going for 11 years and it's based out of Orlando, Florida. And I ran into the owner, I think he's the owner, but he's the founder, this gentleman by the name of Chris Kremitzos, and big podcast, enthusiast and promoter. And I got to tell you, dude, every little session there was like 30 minutes. Wow. Okay. There's some really cool actionable stuff here. Next session, 30 minutes. Whoa. Like, I got to act on this stuff.
Yeah.
It was just like boom, boom, boom. One of the things I discovered is this platform, Riverside. And my God, dude, I've been playing around with it so far. I haven't actually done this. I haven't recorded a full thing. I did kind of a tester with Kevin, but it wasn't a full, like, hey, let's go back and forth and talk and have an actual real discussion about some subject. So what ends up happening is you capture this online. It's web-based, right? And then you can literally click a button and it'll just pull everything out, like all the empty space. If you want to take out the ums and the ahs and anything like that, it'll take all that out and it'll chop it up. And it also does micro content. So it looks at the show transcript and
my God,
it looks for, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. It looks for like the highlights and it'll create like a TikTok or a reel, in that 9:16 or whatever the format is, and just fire those out. And I haven't posted any yet. I did a couple of interviews last week or the week before that I'm building content around so that I can promote it and then push the show out. But I gotta tell you, it's a game changer, man. I'm gonna be using
it's the thing.
Yeah,
currently.
Yeah.
But if you record, let's say, a 30-minute session, how much post-production do you have to do?
Not a lot.
No?
And to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time on that because that's not my core. You know, that's not, if there's a little bit of a glitch here or there, as long as the audio is pretty consistent and it's engaging and the show is engaging, I'm fine. Some people get real, like surgical about it. And I think you can get, just like writing music, you can get lost in the weeds and
yes, some people
in spite
do
of
that.
yourself.
Yeah.
Just like, I could have mixed this so much, but yeah, you could say that if you spend an hour on a song or a freaking decade, you can always improve it. So at some point you have to put it down and be like, it's good enough. You know, just,
I mean, I usually, after I hit stop record, I just bounce the whole thing and I'm done. Usually.
Yeah. I mean, well, with the VSTs we have today, in a lot of cases,
they sound good enough, right?
Yeah. I mean,
think
even
so too.
between a decade ago and now, like anything from like the main studios, right? I think from Native Instruments or Heaviosity, the balance they have. I mean, you may want to put it in a different part of the mix, like in maybe more right channel, more in the background,
like simple
whatever.
stuff, of course.
But outside of that, the balance of the tracks are pretty good.
I mean, they have like mixing engineers with 40 years of experience mixing that thing beforehand. So what should I do?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, the next level is to, I don't know, collab with one of the famous engineers or something like that. But I'm not I'm not the kind of a level performer that could command or demand that,
I don't know. It's like I've never received that comment, like my mix isn't good enough. It might have been attracting more people if it was, maybe, but people have never said like this sounds like shite.
Right. And if that's the case, they probably just didn't use it or engage in it, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I agree. I think like I know that the song could sound 100 times better, but it's what it is.
For me, it's not a question of mix. It's a question of, am I trying to do too many things at once?
Yeah. So
And I'm like, I don't really need that extra piece.
yeah.
I don't need that extra melody going on.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on.
I just did that like 5 minutes ago.
Really?
Took out the Julian pipe.
It was too much?
I never take out the Julian pipe. But I did now, because
Yeah.
it's fine without it. I mean, it just causes clutter. I'm an expert of clutter.
Apparently not. Your studio looks amazing.
And outside the DAW, I'm pretty OCD, yeah. Like, I'm looking at those cables in the bottom right, and I'm freaking out.
Yeah, my studio, like, don't look under my desk.
No,
Like, I don't,
I can't.
once
I
it's in
can't
place.
look under any desks.
Yeah, once everything's in place for me, Alex, I'm like, screw that. I don't like, nope, I don't need it. Cable management? My
You
audience
don't
doesn't
see
see
them.
it.
No. I mean, you see them if you go under, but
Yeah.
do you
I'm not
ever?
picking my camera up and showing anybody, So
Lucky you.
that's
I
that.
have to stand here.
So what's on your agenda this year? What are you focused on? What are you working on? Like, what's the deal?
Game that is pretty big.
Okay.
I signed an NDA, so I'm not
Understood.
going to
Understood.
talk about it. But it's
Can we know the genre? Like, is it an RPG or anything like
it's
that?
a 2D platformer RPG nostalgic thing.
Awesome. When will we see a finished product that incorporates your music?
I think it's going to launch early April.
Okay.
Might be delayed a little bit, but we'll see. It's a lot of music and a lot of sound effects.
I'm excited. Please be sure to keep me in the loop. I want to help promote for you as best I can.
You want to help compose for it?
If you want. What are you looking for?
I don't know. I'm going to have a meeting with them tomorrow, but I'm stressing the fuck out.
Oh, no. What style you don't know yet?
It's a combination of my standard cinematic Celtic fantasy stuff and chiptune.
Okay.
That's a hard hybrid, man.
Okay, so now this is what's crazy. This is like the fifth person I've spoken to in the last 3 months that's like, hey, I need retro tunes like synthwave, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
For projects that are coming up. Apparently that's where
the
things
thing
are at
these days.
I have to pivot because I have a compilation of close to 20 tunes I'm planning in that genre. And, well, apparently now I have to focus on that even more, potentially.
God.
So,
What VSTs are you using for that? Because I can't find any.
that's a good question. Let me, I'll get back to you on
Thank you.
some specifics, but UVI, have you ever heard of them?
Nope.
Okay, so I stumbled across them last year, maybe, and one of the things that they had was an 8-bit type of thing.
Yeah.
And I was able to do one of my most recent ones. It was, let me I gotta look at my album list. Hold on.
Yeah.
It was my album Blip Bleep Bloop that I released in August of last year, and that album I did a ton of tracks. Oh, now I can't find the. Oh, here
And
we
you
are.
only used UVI?
Not only I used maybe again. Let me go into some of the project files.
Oh, fuck me, this thing actually looks 8-bit. Okay, I've found it.
Okay, yeah. There's a bunch of good tracks in there
Nice.
and patches. So
I don't know why this is the thing right now. I think a lot of people that grew up in the 80s have realized how like manageable it is to make video games,
yeah.
and they want to go back to their nostalgic place.
Well, platforming, like 2D platformers and that level of game design is kind of a next generation thing that's coming up with some of this AI generation, right?
Yeah.
I think that Midjourney had promised, or at least had aspired to have the ability for somebody to be able to prompt engineer a very simple browser-based game by the end of this year. And I think you can already do it in ChatGPT if you're somewhat sophisticated.
Yeah.
Like Kevin has made little things. I think he did a Pong based off of just prompting, which if you think about the engineer, like mechanics of it and stuff, are pretty simple. So
yeah, I imagine it's very doable.
yeah, it's one of those things that. Hang on a second, I gotta change my status on Discord to make sure people aren't calling me while we're talking.
Ugh.
I've had that. I'm like, hey, so how's that? It just starts the thing starts playing. God forbid it's Halloween. It was like this Halloween thing would come on.
I remember. Yeah, I know. That was kind of cool. I like how they do that.
Yeah, you should do it for more holidays, I think. I was gonna say, so you've got the video game coming along. What about some of your other stuff? Like, you still doing a song a week, or like what's the plan going forward in 2025? Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. I did it every week last year, and that was kind of my goal, to fulfill that promise for a year.
That's awesome, though.
It worked very well for, I would say, 6, 7, 8 months, and then it became like this forced thing.
Yeah.
And with winter now, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do this every week, but I might. But yeah, I think right now I'm actually composing more than one song a week.
Okay.
But that's because I had like a month of just doing absolutely nothing, just focusing on the game and like clearing up some garbage on the website and doing different stuff there. But now it's feeling less forced, which is a feeling that I appreciate a lot.
Yeah.
So I can play around with stuff, and I can learn new things, because the thing I noticed last year is that towards the end of the year, my music sounded very similar.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about.
I didn't feel like making anything, so I just followed the pattern I did last week. And everything turned out pretty much the same, I would say. But now it's different. Now I'm like making some Viking stuff, and I feel like I have the time to actually learn something in there before I publish it.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing that happens when you start doing a high volume music production. You revisit themes, right? And even if you don't want to, you revisit them. And that has utility if you're looking to make different versions of things, which this year I'm giving myself that flexibility that, okay, I might release an album, but there might be 2 to 3 times the amount of tracks on that album, because I might release a version that has no percussion, or a version that's super thin and it only has this piece playing, because I'm thinking, okay, based on the production and whoever's using it, they may not want it too busy. They may just want...
Trust me, that's super useful.
Yeah.
After I started doing that, people are so thankful.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, I can take that part out and whatever, and I'll still credit that title, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I can wrap my head around. But I also can wrap my head around the fact that once I hit a certain milestone last year, well, I beat the milestone. I wanted to hit 700, and I hit 727. Nice. And I'm like, okay, it's Christmas. I'm gonna take a break. And I literally took like a solid month off that I didn't publish anything. This month I got to start that process up again. Probably middle to end of the month. I still have some songs I have to go revisit and start catalyzing that production schedule. You take a break, and it's weird, like the longer you stay broken, the less inclined you are to publish more. So you have to kind of force the hand and be like, okay, even if it's just like a 6 or 8 song compilation, I gotta get this out, and then that'll start the momentum, like the snowball running down the hill again.
yeah, it's like coming back after a vacation. It's always hard to come back because time off is fucking awesome.
But I'm still trying to do that thing, and I may have told you about this before, the Monday, Friday. Have I ever told you my trick? So Monday, Friday is basically up to about 5, usually somewhere between 2 and 5 ideas. And no filter, just sit down.
Yeah. You're still doing that?
Not this past month, obviously, because I literally just put everything down and just was taking a break, but pretty consistently, I'd say 70% of the time.
Nice.
I'll sit down at some point on a Monday and some point on a Friday. Sometimes I push it around the week if there's something that comes up, but I'll sit down and I'll jump into something. It's always like the third tune though. Like the first and second, I feel nothing. I'm just like, but a lot of times there's a cool little melody or something, and I'm like, I don't know what else to do with that yet. Like, just put that in a box and just, that sounds like it's chiptuned. It sounds like it's orchestral. Let's put it there. What sounds like, maybe that's, I don't know, that sounds a little cyberpunky. Let's put that, you know what I mean? And then the second or third, at least by the third song, I start dropping. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty neat. Let's do that. Okay. And then like an hour and a half goes by and I'm like, oh shit. Oh yeah, that was good. All right. I'm like, that's great. We got to get some other ideas down, blah, blah. And then, and then I put it down.
If it works for you, that's all that matters.
Right.
I have my routine is usually the melody whistle into my phone, and then I listen to that later and I actually compose around it. So cool. I usually come up with ideas either in the shower, which makes it very hard because I'm not bringing my phone in there.
Yeah.
On the toilet, which is awesome because I always bring my phone in there. Or when I'm cooking.
Wow.
So either of those three, usually like if I'm in a good mood, I usually like whistle a melody that I think sounds cool, and then okay, you can probably make something around this. And then I record it in my phone, and I probably have, I don't know, 20 recordings that I haven't listened to since I came up with them. So I probably not, I can't remember the context of the melody.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it works. I think my 100 pieces have been made like that. Just
That's
like
awesome.
From a whistle. Yeah.
It's just the simple beginnings, right?
Yeah. It's very simple.
I have a process for doing two things. I like to stack things as often as possible, right? Because, working for yourself and doing the things in studio like this, it's really easy to be myopic and be like, okay, I'm going to spend 6 hours doing this. And then, oh boy, like the rest of my life has been put on hold.
Yeah.
I've forgotten to eat. I haven't exercised. I haven't left the room. I haven't hydrated. There's so many things I'm missing out on, right? Well, one of the ways I get around that is I'm getting on a regime this year of walking or exercising better and more, right? And one of the best things you can do during that process is take 10, 20 of the tracks that you're working on, dump them into a Google Drive, throw some earbuds in, listen to it, and then I take the phone note, the voice recorder on my phone, listen to a full tune, go back in and be like, mix is thin, needs like a pad, I need to put an additional chorus part here, blah, everything else. I just sit there and I'll run through it in my head. And there's something about walking or running or just like clearing your head that gives you some clarity on the way that you approach the music as opposed to in the studio. In the studio, it's just like a blur, right?
Yeah.
You hear it the same way. You're hearing it in gorgeous speakers, ideally. And then I'm walking around and I'm like, well, I'm hearing something different out here. I'll do the same thing in the car. If I take a long drive.
Same. In the car, a lot happens in the car.
Yeah. So any chance I can listen to it in different environment, it gives me the opportunity to just play around with it.
And that's what everyone says you should do as well. I used to do that, but I haven't done that in so long. I haven't bounced the unfinished song in God knows 5 years maybe.
Okay.
So for me, everything happens in the studio. The only thing I do before that is finding the main melody. And then I go in the studio, I enter the bubble of no hydration, no food. And then I finish the song, and then I'm usually like on a high when I bounce it, the finished product. And then I come down from the high and I realize that I'm so thirsty. I need to piss so bad, and my head is pounding.
Yeah. The headache from dehydration. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it's the best. I don't know why it's like that, but I had this thought yesterday that after I published, because like winter's been like winter usually is, you feel like a bit low energy, or like you're not depressed, but you're kind of in a bad mood like all the time because it's
Well,
like
when you have no
cold and
vitamin
shitty.
D,
Dude, I'm eating like 60 milligrams of that every day. So I'm ODing on vitamin D
right?
on purpose. It's like the entire society is just like down, you know? Like no one's smiling, no one is like wearing their shorts and t-shirt, and believe me, people are happier in the summer. And it's just like a collective emotion in the winter that everyone is just like a bit low.
Well, you've got this huge blanket of snow, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, everything gets harder.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything you do gets harder.
Yeah.
So people are more tired, and yeah, it's just bad. But I realized that the first time this year I actually felt really good was right after I uploaded my latest song, and the only song I uploaded this year.
Right.
So to me, this fucking music thing is it's like heroin, man. It's my addiction, I think.
Good. It's a good addiction to have.
No, it's terrible. It's horrible. It's because the entire process is like, especially after having a month off, like getting back into the software and starting out, it feels so tedious.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to do anything. But I did. And then I got the dopamine rush from publishing that song, and I realized, okay, I'm stuck doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right. Well, I had to take a break for a bit because I kept on doing intros in this style. But one of the folks that uses my music, he uses your music too. That a YouTube channel, Dork Tales.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing some spaghetti western stuff for him right now for one of his campaigns, and it's so much fun to make.
Yeah,
but
right? I know.
It's just, I'm like, this is like bringing me to different places. I'm like, it's kind of like when I did that old timey thing last year. Did I tell you about that?
I heard it.
Okay. Those were samples and original stuff that I wrote, a combination of the two, from tunes that are in the public domain from like the 1920s or something here in the US. And it's like Roaring 20s style. I don't know what you'd call that. Like it's
I don't know the genre.
Yeah. I made something new, basically.
Yeah.
And
Invention.
I was like, oh, this is fun. Let's do this. I'll probably do it again this year, but they were fun to explore, and it was weird because you're juxtaposing something 100 years old against some modern equipment and trying to blend those two things together and not make it sound like they're foreign to one another. And that's a challenge. But
I can imagine. But I also think it's like the Western style is like instrumentally very easy to make because it's not a lot going on. You don't need many instruments,
space, right?
You want a lot of space.
Yeah, you want that feeling of the Wild West and a tumbleweed town, and even just throwing some ambient noise in the background. I mean, I would literally thought maybe I should put like a pink or white noise generator in the back, like slowly deep in the mix to give that
It
ambient
does
weird.
So much, but at the same time, when you're making music that, people are going to use, it's also very dangerous to do that. So I'm always very conflicted whether I should, like, in my, like, dark winter fantasy music, should I, like, add the wind? Because for the song, it does so much. But for people using it, maybe it's not windy.
Yeah,
where
right.
they're going to use it.
Right. Well, I guess that comes back to the statement earlier, having multiple versions of things like,
Yeah,
hey,
definitely.
windless, windful
Yeah.
version. There you go. Boom.
Then you need to know what are people going to take out from the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I just export all the stems and give people all the stems so they can like take out whatever they want. And but then again, that means that people need to have some sort of audio interface to upload everything like layered. And
Yeah, they need a more sophisticated editing.
Yeah. And we want to make it easy for people. So, but then again, Patreon is great because I've given them the promise that, like, do you need this without the French horn? Just send me a message and I'll get it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, that's a service that's awesome. It's not like...
Yeah, but it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
For us. I mean...
Yeah. You go back into the project file and be like, it just click the button that says,
yeah,
you know, export stems. Boop, you know?
5 minutes. Easy.
There you go. It's really cool. I
can't believe I spent like $2,000 on a chair and I'm standing up. That's disgraceful. Hold on.
Well, I have plans to have a new desk that's probably going to be bigger and ideally something I can stand at too. But I made myself a promise. I have to reach the next big milestone, which is
before you get the desk.
Yeah, I've got to breach 1,000 before I can get the desk.
So what's that for you? Like a month?
No, maybe the end of the year. Maybe.
That's still a good goal.
Yeah. From 727 to that, I figured if I can do 60 to 70 a quarter, and I'm happy with them. That's the key, though. Like I have to, like whatever I'm producing, I gotta be happy with it, man. You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So I've yet to do that where I've released something that I'm like,
really?
Well, that's not 100% true. There's tracks that I've released that are part of a collective that I'm like, you know, half to 3/4 of these, I was really happy with how they were produced. And there's a couple of tracks that I'm like, I don't want to call them throwaway, but as a musician, you do have tracks that you're like, I know this has utility. I don't really dig it, but I'm going to put it out there. And holy shit, does that sometimes just like people are like, this is great. And you're like,
I know.
Why?
Yeah. It's like my worst work ever.
There's like ambient floor, like forest ambience or something like that, or like dark forest. Like there's like weird named songs that I have that do really well on socials.
Yeah, because their title is exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And then people are like, well, yeah, I could use that part, put that in the background, and they love it. You know?
Yeah.
I have one that's very industrial sounding. Like it's pretty much sound effects. And there's some content creator on YouTube over in India or in Indonesia or something like that is constantly using this in this series of videos. And it's getting like millions of spins because of the process. Because
works
of it.
For him.
And it works for me too, because it's showing up on YouTube and I'm getting this, you know, I'm getting the spins for it or whatever. Speaking of YouTube, how's that frequency engagement going for you? You doing all right?
I'm doing fine. Yeah, it's a lot of numbers, and my music is being used way more than I thought, especially in like Asia. But yeah, I'm happy for now.
That's good.
Let's hope it continues. I know that a lot of people are using it without attribution because I'm getting money.
Right.
But at the same time, I know that more people are attributing somehow. Some of them have like typos and stuff, and then they get claims. That's funny. But yeah, I think for me, it works very nicely. I think this is the platform I needed to make my life easier and the life of other people using my music easier as well.
Yeah. And just for context, if you don't mind me saying this, I don't think you would, because this is the whole reason that you joined
Definitely not
in the first place. Alex ran into a problem where he was giving his music for free with attribution under Creative Commons, royalty free, and there were people out there registering it on YouTube on the Content ID platform and creating a problem for the end users for you, correct? Like the people that you'd established relationships with, or at least your regular users over the years, somebody's been using your music for 3, 4, 5 years, all of a sudden they start getting claims because somebody else registered the music. So you literally had no choice. And I followed suit because I'm a few years behind you in the publishing process.
You would run into the exact same problem eventually.
Yeah, so I ultimately just said, after seeing you with that platform for 6 months, let's have a conversation with Damian Vanderbrick and the folks over there and figure out, hey, does this make sense for me? And honestly, it did.
Yeah.
And making sure that people going forward aren't going to have a problem. And the people that squawk and come back, I mean, those are the people that you kind of don't want to use in your music anyway.
Yeah, it's very clear to me sometimes because I get a lot of emails that they got a claim even though they did credit.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it might be a system fault somewhere in the process, but then you look in their video and you can see that your name is like all the way on the bottom of the description, meaning they added it after usually. And the frequency also has the history of the description, and they can see if they added it after they got the initial claim.
Right.
Which is usually the case. But like, no, I haven't received a single angry email. Well, I have, but it's usually just one response from me, and then they apologize and they fix everything, and it's good.
Yeah. Well, they're misinformed or whatever. That's a big thing I'm going to try and roll out this year. And it might be something you can help me out with periodically when you have the time to do it. And that is, I'm going to do a very deep dive this year on several of the platforms, including YouTube, and kind of get to I know this is constantly evolving, and this may be a series that I have to update annually at this point. Hopefully not forever like that. Hopefully there's some kind of like standardization they can do at some point. But what I want to do is provide content for the end users, the creators, to be able to navigate the various platforms. Like I've been telling people recently, I'm like, look, I publish through DistroKid. So on TikTok, on YouTube Reel or YouTube Shorts, on Instagram Reels, my music's all in there. So if you know the track, you could type my name and the track title and pick it up. And if you use their editor, you're not going to have a problem because that's the platform that you're pulling the music from. It's the third-party stuff that creates a lot of the problems. You bring that video in, and then it just by default flags it because it doesn't have a chain of custody at that point. There's a break, and then there's the video that was uploaded. So the challenge is, how do you inform and guide creators to the proper attribution way on those platforms so that they minimize how many times they have to go in there and fight, right?
It's a very good question. I usually just include it in my bio on all the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hoping that people is going to read it. Most people are not. But then again, that just generates emails for me to reply to. But so far, I think YouTube video is the best way to do it, and just include that video everywhere, because that's a platform people feel very safe going to, and if it's linked to YouTube, then most people are going to feel safe clicking it.
Right.
And that's what Frequency said as well. Like the video is the first priority to get done. And it's hard because like people are getting their music from so many different places, and there are also like websites I don't have control over, even though all my music is there, because the creator of the website downloads my music and upload it to his own website to let people download it from there.
Right.
Like free stock music and everything. That's a big one for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, reach out to the developer and they're gonna fix it immediately, and they did that for me. So now people get the same attribution texts when downloading from there as they do from my own website.
Right. I've done that standardization across the few that I have it on. Like I had it on SoundCloud, Pixabay, and now my new and improved website. You know? Yeah. So literally
Pixabay is good though, because I like the download numbers from there are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And I get maybe one message every 2 weeks from someone that got a claim, and something we resolved very fast.
Yeah. And I
So
literally put in my description, it says, it's literally like I say, I make music, a lot of it, blah, blah. I'm registered with YouTube Content ID, like immediately. Like
Yeah.
you have to give
and
attribution.
you also check the box when you upload
Yeah.
the song, right?
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single. And I went back retroactively
Yeah, same.
after I started doing the frequency thing
Same.
and
That
just
was
said,
fun.
okay, let's go in. Gonna edit
Yeah.
all these. No biggie. Let's a couple hundred
No
tunes.
biggie.
It was like, I don't know, it was like 350 tunes, but
It's hours of work. Ugh.
but it seems
I-
like every stage of self-promotion is, okay, that's hours of work. What I had to do recently, I was having this issue on YouTube because in order to show consistent uploads and everything, I was like, all right, when I publish to DistroKid, it publishes to a Tim Coolig topic that I can't get comments on, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a default thing that they do, but it also registers it with YouTube so that when you go and produce a short, my music will be in there. So I can't
Mhm.
not have that, right? But I want people to be able to go and watch the video on my channel, comment on it, or link out to where they can get it if they like it. So I started doing that. I started taking archival albums and be like, okay, here's one from 2021, this formulaic rhythms. I'm going to upload each individual track, release them every day around noon here, Eastern Standard Time, give the linkage out, everything else, have a premiere, boom, right? Something about the way I uploaded the last batch, they were retroactively posting them from the day I uploaded them and not premiering on the day I told them. So there was some weird thing that I used Camtasia to edit everything. So there must have been something I missed in that process.
Yeah.
So now I have to go back, download the video, copy the text, re-upload it, and then set it as an instant premiere at a future date, blah, blah. And hopefully that fixes the problem. But it's weird. Like there's constantly things changing on these platforms that you have to be mindful of. And it can get really frustrating. I can see where people that aren't pot committed to what they're doing just have a case of the efforts and they're like, screw this. This is too much work. I don't want to do it. Well, that eliminates 95% of your competition, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can stick through it, yeah, you can make it happen. So it was frustrating. Like for a day, I was like, God damn it. I got to go back and do this and fix this. But it ends up being a story in your head.
Yeah.
It's a bigger deal than you make it out to be, you know, or
Yeah.
you're making it out to a bigger deal than it actually is, rather.
Do you mind the topic channel?
Not so much. Did you have a problem with it when you were publishing with DistroKid, or?
No, not what, but I took my publishing off the DistroKid
Right,
and to Frequency,
right.
and I'm gonna check if this is fixed now. But all my music came under Wesley Alves topic. Who the fuck is Wesley Alves?
Okay.
So I got Paul's topic channel under someone else's name, which is extremely weird, and no one is understanding why this is happening.
So you've
But-
clearly engaged Frequency on this, saying,
Yeah, and
Like-
now it's actually gone,
Okay.
I think. So that was weird. We have no idea, but this must have happened sometimes in the publishing process, like right before YouTube, I think, because like Frequency has done this 1,000 times and it's always been the same. They publish like through like in the same way DistroKid is publishing. So but now the topics channel is actually gone. And I don't think I have a topic channel either. Do I?
you do
I
like
don't.
no, there's no dash topic anymore. Well,
Wait,
you
there is,
Oh, is there?
but it doesn't have any content. Okay, I'm gonna have
No,
to.
because you depublished it with DistroKid, and I'm sure what happens is they unpopulated that channel
yeah,
with your stuff.
but then I went to Frequency and the Wesley Alves topic channel came up with all my songs in it, and now it's gone. So
that's curious.
I think I have to talk to them about that. But I don't know. Do I want the topic channel? I guess because it had a significant number of views.
Yeah.
Like so, some people like because that like a video on your topic channel is actually linked to different places, right? It's not only YouTube. But we'll see. Another funny thing though is that I took my my composition rights over to Frequency as well. Recently, very recently, I terminated my agreement with Eddie a few days ago. And this was because he had some problems with with PRS and ICE and all those big companies. I don't know what the hell is going on, but it's a lot of things. So I took that. It's very nice having everything in one place.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And my contact person at Frequency is like responding 24/7, and he usually fixes stuff immediately. So ideally, I will not have any false claim issues soon.
Awesome.
We'll see. They were also very curious about my lack of mechanical royalties, because as they explained, that somehow a royalty platform has to pay to have your music on there. Do you understand this mechanical royalty stuff?
That's another thing this year is mechanics versus performance. Yeah. All that. It gets complicated. It gets super complicated because each environment has different restrictions and different demands. You could relinquish your rights, like one environment I know about, like Germany. You could relinquish your rights in Germany to something, but they don't care. They're still going to pay you because you're the original composer. So they don't care what thing happened later on. As far as they're concerned, you're the rightful heir of that benefit. At least that's what I was told.
Yeah.
And there's certain environments that are more conducive to a better royalty collection than others. I think France and the UK are two areas that are they're very not generous, but it's profitable to get royalty streams from those places. You move on to India or some third world area, it's harder, and it probably has a lot to do with infrastructure, right? There's not a strong group of people there managing royalty rights and caring about it, for that matter, enough to generate what's appropriate and what you deserve.
This topic is so complicated that even reading hundreds of articles online, things still differentiate between geographical areas so much that reading it one place might not make any sense in a different place.
Right.
So, I mean, even the publishers don't understand how this works.
And that's the thing that's scary, because now you've got two publishers with differing ideas as to exactly what the interpretation is.
Yeah.
That's subject to something like a misunderstanding or a miscommunication. Maybe both of these guys are collecting on the same thing, which is great.
I wouldn't know,
but it's not great because it's not like if you're supposed to get $1,000 this month and you get $3, but it's because two people paid that shouldn't have. Well, that's not good for the industry either, right? Like, I'm fine getting what I'm owed, but
absolutely,
I'm not fine setting up a system that's going to be scrutinized later on, be like, hey, well, no, we overpaid all these people. Now we're going to cut this thing down. And then in the long term, it ends up being detrimental to the long-term success of building a royalty stream, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's also why I went over to Frequency, because I know Eddie has a lot of knowledge on how this works in the UK, and he's like scoping out different parts of the world. But as far as I've understood, the people I talk to at Frequency, they have a very, very international level of knowledge on this topic. And even though they can't like promise more money or less money or anything, I know that I'm so valuable to them that they actually make changes based on what I request, which is
awesome.
Super impulsive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very good. So like the features I get like in future updates are like stuff I've been asking for.
And they've been rolling out
today.
They've been rolling out some updates that are pretty powerful, like putting more control in your hands in their platform.
Whitelisting and the everything, like that's the thing I've been requesting since I became a member, because it's a huge deal for me to be able to whitelist channels.
Yeah, especially if they have an issue across multiple videos and you want to you don't want to burden them with the time of and the administrative expense of going in and changing all these things. It's like, no. I know you're giving me attribution. I know you're doing what you're supposed to do. Let's just nip this in the bud and solve the problem for your channel and going forward and everything else. I found like one of the first things that popped up when I first started with them, I think we flipped the switch August, September of last year. That was about the time that we went live. And one of the things that came up, it was crazy. There was another composer that I think she does like binaural beats or like certain frequency meditation tracks. And we must have both had the exact same VST. And we both started a meditation tune with the same chord with that VST. And the first 30 to 40 seconds, very, very similar. Very, very similar. So it flagged her channel for my tune. And her first response was, she was like, you accidentally published my song or something like that, like without digging into it deeper. And I'm like, whoa. First of all, I don't even know who you are. I'm like, let me investigate this a little further. I said, I just started with these folks. Might be some kind of confusing thing. So I dug into it and I listened to her tune and listened to mine. I'd actually published before she had. So technically it would have been the other way around. But then I realized after further investigation, I'm like, we use the same instrument. That's what we did. And we use a similar chord or a similar, we just started it the same. Like, it's not impossible. I mean,
it happens.
A long enough timeline, people will write something very similar to each other without having any contact with each other. So I explained to her what happened. And I said, I've solved the problem. I've contacted my people. I've whitelisted your channel for anything. So basically going forward, I know you're monetized and that was the biggest problem. You're all set. And we both have our own pieces and we're good merriment, blah, blah.
That shit's going to happen eventually.
And she ended up following me on Instagram and we ended up befriending each other and
getting
everything
married
else. No, it ended up being very amicable. You know what I mean? Like, but you never know. I mean, like you could approach that and just be really nasty about it. And that's, well, why would I do that? It's like, well, I'm here to provide a service. Let's figure out what happened and I'll solve the problem. But
and it's a lot of this whitelisting stuff is also something you're gonna like. If you go onto new platforms, maybe people are paying you to not credit, like they do with the licensing on my website and Patreon. So now they're actually opening up their API, future update hopefully this year, so you can actually connect to their API and automate this whole whitelisting process as well.
That's awesome.
So if people go to my website and buy a license, they automatically get whitelisted as long as they fill out their channel URL or something.
Well, that's through frequency? That's amazing.
Yeah,
that just solves all that administrative burden on you.
Yeah, all they want is for us to have less admin work and more time with actually making music.
Yeah, that was the idea behind my website upgrade. Just literally, here's the download link, here's the attribution language, that's it. And then my developers thought about 4 or 5 different ways to get to the music, because I was literally like, you've got content creators coming in here trying to find it. One person might be visual, so they're going to look at album art, and I categorize 95% of my stuff to genre-specific compilations, right? So they'll know, hey, there's a meditation album, there's this, blah, blah, blah. They go in and listen to it, whatever. But they also made a tags page. So if you think in terms of the words surrounding the music that you're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want cinematic, but eerie. Well, you put those two things together, you're going to get whatever I tagged that way, So that's another way. And then if you just know the title of the track, you can just search for it there or by genre or whatever, and it'll bring up everything. So it's work on the back end, but I had to do that. I had to do all my tunes as MP3s with the cover art and the tags and the genre and stuff.
It's so many sites doing this right now, and some of them are extremely simple. And I think that's all we have to focus on is to make it as easy as possible for people to get the music. Of course, you get people that, would prefer to use your music because they like your way of composing, and they might go through a bit more work to get it. But 99% of the people are just like, yeah,
what's the quickest thing?
Yeah, I don't have time for this. They have like 1,000 things on their plate. So
yeah. If this is laborious, I'll find another solution.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So luckily I found a path with that.
Now it works.
Yeah.
It's just like it's gonna stay there, and you're gonna find small upgrades that you want to implement, and I don't know. It's just way easier having a website.
Yeah, and now that that's been revised, the big challenge is the promotion, right? So that's where this comes into play. This is an advertising extension of everything that we do, and the backlinks that you can create by having this podcast all over the place with its show notes and the backlinks coming in. That takes time, but 2-3 years from now, there'll be a lot more site traffic based on that alone, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to couple that with a half a dozen to a dozen other management techniques
to
drive traffic and everything. So it'll be good. It'll be really good. Oftentimes, if somebody's looking for something that has a genre specific to like the stuff that you do, I'm like, I can't touch that. But you want Celtic metal? Like, yeah, go check out Alex's site, please. He's excellent at this. There's no reason.
Yeah, you get those people who just like worship your art, and that's awesome in the first place. But it's also very, very useful to have like this niche thing, like you have the horror and
I can write some pretty dark stuff.
Some of it's pretty dark.
It's like, whoa, what's going on?
Are you a horror enthusiast? Like horror
movies? This is the crazy thing. Like those like torture porn ones, like Saw and everything. I have no interest in that at all.
No,
like,
I agree.
It's too real and everything. I'd say if you wanted to call me enthusiast about anything, it's the goofy shit from the 80s, right? Like Troll,
Pet Cemetery stuff.
Just the one where they had like CGI wasn't a thing yet, so they had like a lot of puppeting, like killer clowns from outer space and the goofy stuff, or like the super ultra violent over the top stuff that like it's not even meant to be serious. Like Dead Alive, did you ever see that movie? It's ridiculous. There's a scene in it where a guy's has a freaking lawnmower strapped to him, and he's like running around a room full of zombies and just taking them out. He's
that one.
Yeah.
That's a splatter movie, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like it's so over the top that you can't take it seriously. It's stupid, gross, but it's all on purpose, right?
Okay.
There's one scene in that blows me away because I can't find for the life of me the cut shot, and it looks real. There's a person standing in front of a window, like imagine there's a window behind me, right? And they're just standing there, and then boom, there's a punch through the back of their head, out the front of their face, and you're like, how did you do that? How did you like it's gross, but but at the same time, I'm like fascinated that I couldn't see the jump shot, and that looked like that person, and somehow they matched it so perfectly that I'm just like, that's incredible cinematography. I mean, not for everybody, but
the creativity amongst directors in the world of pre-CGI cinema is awesome.
Yeah.
Like you can watch documentaries on that stuff, and it's
the original Alien. They were. I remember seeing a documentary or like a behind the scenes, like they did like a documentary as they were filming the thing. And again, that was models pre-CGI and everything, and it's the pods for the face huggers. There's 4 or 5 cuts to when that thing pops and gets on your face, and it includes a squib and spaghetti as it's coming out, and they're like, how do we make this look like this? But the cuts are so fast that your brain makes this connection that it's some otherworldly like alien thing happening, when in truth it's all sleight of hand and tricks of the eye. It's really, really cool stuff.
Can you see it now that you know, or is it still?
I slowed it down and I could get a little bit of a glimmer, but still, it's still movie magic to me. I'm like, this is just
that's
this
great.
is what you guys get paid the big bucks for, I guess. You know, it's pretty wild.
So you're not like into horror movies, like
No, that's the crazy. I'm really not. I'm really not. But for whatever reason, I can write in that genre, and I can look at somebody could tell me about a mood with that, and I'll just make something really eerie and creepy and nice. And I can.
I mean, it's especially impressive if you don't have a lot of like experience watching similar stuff. You just know how it should sound.
Yeah. There might
Cool.
have been a time pan when I was younger that I explored more of those things, but it'd probably be more like sci-fi horror, like maybe at the level of like, what was that? Not Deep Horizons. It's the one that it's got a crazy ending that they had to take out because of rating. Event Horizon.
Oh, okay.
That movie. You ever seen that one?
No.
I think
Should
I think it had Lawrence Fishburne and the lead from the lead scientist from Jurassic Park. I can't think of the guy's name at the moment, but like from the first Jurassic Park, the main scientist, those two are in it. And it had this like controversial blood orgy scene, they called it.
Okay.
And it would have been unrated if they had released it with this scene in it, because it was super brutal. It was real gross. And they pulled it, but the director's cut has it in it, apparently. And I've seen bits and pieces of it, and it's pretty frightening. It looks like hell. You're like, oh, Jesus. Or like whatever hell is supposed to look like, you know?
I need to see this.
But yeah, it's a black hole or wormhole out by Saturn or something, and they go and explore it, and all these weird things happen, and the ship goes through all these changes, and the ship was abandoned years before. Very interesting sci-fi story, you know. But like that's kind of the level of horror, like that sci-fi.
I see.
You know, isolated space horror. That's probably why I do like space ambience and stuff too.
Yeah,
because that like you're lost in a void.
Yeah. I mean, that's horror. That's proper like horror.
Yeah. Imagine being out like 2 billion miles away from the nearest planet that has oxygen and
couldn't really think of anything worse.
No, I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate in feeling isolated.
Yeah.
My God. No.
I don't know. I should really explore that genre more. It's the dark sci-fi, like 80s, 90s.
Yeah. This time of year, where you live in Norway, I mean, dude.
Just, oh man, go all in.
Yeah. You might as well just go dark.
Yeah.
I won't talk to you for 6 months, but you'll be in this hobbit hole. And yes, my precious.
Darkness, the void. I'm a super horror enthusiastic, but more in the like supernatural, scary shit.
Okay.
And I think the creepiest tune I know is the intro song in American Horror Stories.
Okay.
That thing is so unsettling. Like I have based so many of my horror tracks of that piece, and it's just like, just the song itself gives you the fucking creeps.
Yeah, it just goes up the back of your neck, and yeah. Those are fun when you can.
Yeah,
when you produce
do that in song. Oh, jeez, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, most often you get that feeling from an atonal piece, right?
Yeah.
It's almost more Foley than anything else, and that's the thing that kind of happens with horror too, is that a lot of the moving parts of it are Foley-esque. It's almost like it's just swells and stings that make you unsettled, or you pick a patch from VST producer that has just like this cluster of orchestral things that just are just gnarly and
like symphonic destruction.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Some dissonant things, just like building. You can use the XY grid and kind of pass it between things. So you have this modulation effect happening between these two different patches you're playing.
Yeah.
And you can't get really articulate with it, but if you layer that over the top of something else that's going on, and you do it in such a way that it emphasizes
absolutely
different feelings, it's really neat. It's really neat stuff. you stumbled upon anything interesting this past year that was really inspiring, like a new VST or anything like that?
No.
No.
Great guest.
Yeah.
Nah.
Nothing.
Not really.
Nothing great. I found Clark Audio. I think they're the ones. I gotta look in Logic quick. Bring up a project.
I don't think I really bought much last year.
Here's my instruments. Clark Audio. Actually, forgive me. That was 2023, but it was towards the end. It was like December.
Fair enough.
They had this cool. I was doing lo-fi stuff, and they had this thing called Lo-Fi Panda. That
yeah, I remember the name.
They have some neat patches in there. It was what the price point was good, and the amount of patches I was able to pull out of it to make lo-fi stuff was over 10, which I feel like that's a win anytime.
Absolutely.
You can use more than one or two things, because sometimes that's all you get out of something. And when I spend $150 on something and I'm like, there's 3 patches here that are worth anything, I'm like, right? Why did I think that this was going to do the work I thought I was going to do? Sometimes you get really disappointed, but you have to be a little more selective about the VSTs you buy in the future. But I like giving you guys a chance only because I like people to innovate, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And there are certain brands that if they release a new version of something, I'm going to buy it regardless. But at the same time, I know that I can purchase like a huge pack of instruments, and I find like 2 or 3 that I enjoy, and I make 150 pieces with those in them. And I didn't really explore the rest. So I've realized now that, okay, I'm not going to purchase anything else unless something groundbreaking comes to the market, of course.
Yeah. Or you have a specific project that you need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
more space.
Yeah.
More options to pull from, right?
But that's also one of the reasons I don't release every week anymore, because I'm actually going to go into the packs I've bought in the past, and I'm going to explore them more, because some of it is really good, and it's worth taking some time to just like actually get to know your library, not just the few things you have seen success with in the past.
Yeah, that's a thing that I often scream at myself to do, and then don't follow through. So that's
tedious.
Definitely something to look into this year as well. There's another studio called Lunacy, and they have a product called Cube, and they update it constantly with new sound banks and with batches of patches and stuff. And a lot of their updates are relatively inexpensive. They're double-digit cost as opposed to 3-digit cost. Yeah. And if you have a previous edition of it, or if you've been buying it all along, they usually discount it. They're like, hey, you want another 50 patches? It's $30, Nice. And typically you find stuff that I've found that their engine is getting more powerful, because they have an effects engine that allows you to crossfade things and do all sorts of effects on it. And in essence, make these things into whatever you want them to be. Mm-hmm. There is some sequence-based patches, though, that have limited utility. So, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Like, if you're building in a certain genre, these are going to be great. But if you're looking for something that's not so busy, these aren't going to work out for you.
Right.
You need to focus on other things. But that's another reason I write in so many styles, is that I can write horror forever, but then I'm just going to end up writing the same horror forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And that sucks. Yeah. So you go into 8-bit video games, you go into meditation, you go into orchestral, and then come back to horror, and something new pops. So all that work has influenced this to do something different. And
you bring the essences from the other stuff you've been doing into the new stuff. I think that's the fun way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't always please your main audience.
No. But if you're going to continue to please your main audience, you have to push boundaries, right? You have to keep pushing the envelope and everything. So between the chiptune stuff and your traditional, you got any other big projects lined up this year as far as
not really
styles, stuff you want to explore?
This thing, which is I think it's a Kenyan seed pod authentic that I got from a friend. So
Like a shaker?
see. Yeah,
Nice.
I will see if I want to incorporate more analog instruments. I said that last year as well, but this year I'm actually gonna do.
I got a hand pan last fall. Not the
Have you tried
official
it?
one that's built. I think it was a Norwegian company that originally made
Oh yeah,
the hang drums.
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. It's like the metal dome
Yeah.
with the things.
It's all hand based, or you can
Yeah.
use like little rubber mallets and stuff. But yeah, the originals were like thousands, right?
Jesus.
Because you had to be on a waiting list for like years to get the
Yeah.
like the official stuff. So that's neither one of those things works for me. I'm not looking to wait, and I'm not looking to spend thousands on this particular instrument.
Yeah.
I found one on like the TikTok shop for like $150. This thing sounds freaking great. you know?
Really?
Yeah. So I ended up
Cool.
getting one for my mother-in-law. I got one for that ultimately Kevin ended up buying off of me, and we both had one out like a month ago, and we were playing, and we ended up like playing off. They're whatchamacallit, they were in the same key, and it was really cool. It was really cool. Like one person is doing the rhythm, and the other
Yeah.
person's kind of soloing around it.
Well,
and
that's
stuff.
pretty cool.
So I'm like, oh, we should hang out in a street corner and throw out a cup,
Yeah.
and then just give it away afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Contribute to the goodness of society.
Man, that's the way of doing street music. Collect some money and then give it to the closest homeless guy.
Yeah. There you go.
Huh.
Not a bad idea, right? Add back to the world. Be the positive change in the world you want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you
You
did
just
that
want to
this
have
year.
fun with a hand pan.
Yeah, and you did that this year with the guerrilla landscaping, right? Just like going out there and helping people out.
Absolutely amazing.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, just sweating in the sun, removing roots and bushes, cutting down trees, mowing the lawn. I had such a blast.
There's something very basic and primal and satisfying in that kind of work, in that process. Even when I had a house, like I don't have to do that now because I'm part of a homeowners association and they handle all that stuff. And quite honestly, I don't have the time for it anymore. But when I did, it was very satisfying to go through and edging and everything else. And, those videos fascinate me. I'll see them online. Somebody shows up at a house that hasn't been touched in 5 years. They take all this overgrowth down. And you're like, that's what the house looks like.
Yeah, and it looks so easy when they like speed up the video, and it's like a short. It's like 18 seconds, and that's from like the worst garden you've ever seen to the prettiest one.
Yeah, that's 5 hours of work.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're doing it by yourself, you sweat a lot, but when you're done, it's like the garden is a canvas, and you just transform the shit to art. Yeah, it's a great feeling, and we have to stop talking about that because that's about 4 months away.
That's right. Oh yeah, because that's gonna heavily depress you that your 3 or 4 months of growing period is that much farther away. So I will stop reminding you.
Way worse than cutting like no t-shirt, like mowing the lawn in like 28 degrees. You know what's worse? Going outside and shoveling about 3 tons of snow off your roof while you're wet and cold and shitty.
I saw your short the other day of, I'm not sure how long ago, if it was this current season or a previous season.
The winter snow?
Yeah.
Or winter grass, I mean?
Yeah. You're like, hey, look at me. This is
mowing
very
the
unique
winter
to
grass.
Norway. Here's my winter grass. That's hysterical.
That's my stupid attempt of finding joy in shoveling the snow.
I found it comical. Very comical.
That's good.
Because it's been, gosh, how long has it been? It's been 12, 13 years since I've shoveled snow like that.
Really?
Yeah, that's how long I've been down in Florida. So,
Yeah.
well, to be fair, that last season, we had one storm that was 3 feet. So a meter. We had a meter of snow in one storm.
In Florida?
No. Connecticut.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, though, the panhandle of Florida got 9 inches of snow.
Really?
Yeah. Hell freezeth over here in the U.S.
That's I mean, that's probably very fun for you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, shut down up by Tallahassee. Well, there's no infrastructure, right? There's no infrastructure to clear it. There's no infrastructure to melt it with, ice or anything, or salt rather, or sand. So you got to wait for it to go away. That's it.
That's the only way.
So, and nobody down here knows how to do it anymore. I mean, they may have when they live somewhere else and they're a transplant, but you forget.
Yeah, and you don't, like, if you move from Connecticut to Florida, you don't bring your snow shoveling tools, right?
God, no. I think I had a garage sale, and if it didn't get picked up or bought, I just left it at the end of the driveway and
nice
free shovel, not going to need this where I'm going.
Yeah, we're very much just in case kind of people. So we are. I assume our tool sheds are bigger than yours because we have to adjust for like 4 very different seasons.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, your winter's got to be.
Yeah, you're not selling a house without a shed in this country.
No.
That's like a sunny balcony for you guys. No chance. Or shaded balcony. That's what you want in Florida, probably.
Yeah. We have these more than shaded. You want screened in areas. Like you want screened in lanai. A lanai is a fancy word for like a porch, and
cool.
And
I get it.
But during like the spring, summer, and fall, you'll just get eaten alive by mosquitoes, and that's the last thing you want because they're vicious down here. Vicious.
I can imagine.
The witching hour, which is dusk, they all come out, and you're just like, you could be out exposed for 10 minutes, and you'll just be covered and look like you're breaking out in hives or something. They'll just eat you alive.
That's annoying.
Yeah. So screened in areas, a big plus.
Yeah,
a big plus.
Huh. It's weird. The world is weird, and the differences of location, just how they change someone's life. How your life is so different than mine.
Yeah.
Just based on where you live.
Yeah, and I still see seasons, but mine are much more subtle, right? Like we lose, people don't think about this, but even down here, I'm halfway down Florida. So I'm in that middle road of the Tampa, Orlando, Cape Canaveral area in the central Florida down, right? And even here on the coastline, and when I say coast, I mean like within 20 or so of the ocean, there's certain trees that this time of year right now, they'll lose leaves for about 3 to 5 weeks, and then they'll bud again, and then that's spring. That's it. Like they'll shed their leaves once a year because it gets cold enough that it triggers the DNA to shed it off or whatever. Other ones never lose it all year. And then there's a completely different environment inland than there is here. So if you go into Orlando, you start seeing trees and different foliage that feels more like you're in the Carolinas or even up into New England, and less and less tropical stuff. Like if the tropical stuff is there, it's probably been planted on purpose because that stuff is typically on the shoreline, So very, very strange. Driving around the state, I realized like, it's much more diverse than people realize. You get super far south, well, that's just tropical forever. There's nothing you could do about that.
Yeah.
And it gets cold. It got down to 0 or 1 degree Celsius here a week and a half ago as a morning start. We're not, what should we call it?
Safe.
We're not, yeah, that's a good word. We're not safe from the possibility of a frost warning or whatever.
Okay.
It's definitely possible, especially with that Arctic freaking, plunge that we get sometimes.
You are also quite far north, compared to everything.
Yeah.
But man, is it perfect.
Well,
it's just perfect.
300 days a year, typically, of sunshine, even when you factor in the fact that during the summer, every day it rains.
Yeah.
Every day. But it's 20 minutes.
Yeah, right.
But it goes from beautiful, not a cloud in the sky, to holy shit, what is happening? To beautiful, not a cloud in the sky.
I think it's the same way here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the mountains, like it can change like this, and which is why it's very dangerous, like going for a hike, like proper mountainy.
Yeah,
because
I didn't realize that about Norway.
1 minute it can be like sunny, no wind, and then suddenly it's like snowing and raining and cold as fuck, and you can't see anything, and so it's interesting. But the fact that we have like mid-September, everything just dies and is dead for 5 months.
Yeah, that was Connecticut. That was New England. New England, exactly the same. Like you probably don't see, you start seeing evidence of it maybe late March, but more likely mid to late April. And then May, you get the foliage is almost peaked out to its maximum. And by the end of May, most, if not all, foliage is fully in bloom, right? So you get June, July, August, and the tail end of August.
September, do you have that? Like we can have beautiful Septembers, like warm and sunny.
In Connecticut, it depended.
Yeah.
A big factor was precipitation throughout the summer.
Yeah.
I think there's
same here.
Heavy or less, it dictates how the fall foliage comes out, how bright it is. And I forget which direction it has to go. But yeah, I always knew fall was coming. Probably like it was usually around Labor Day, which is the first weekend in September in the US. And there's some maple trees that the tops of them the leaves would start to change. And you're like, it's coming. It's coming. The changes are coming.
Yeah. But man, is it beautiful when everything is just orange.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I do miss
very
that.
Beautiful season.
I do miss that. I don't miss cleaning it up.
No.
I do miss that season, those seasons, for sure. Well, I'm glad you were available today, dude. I'm glad that you were willing to step in here. Once we're done with this, once this thing processes and everything, I'll shoot you some of the short form that comes out of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
You can check it out, and we'll see how the audio comes out and everything. Again, the only thing that's missing today is because I wanted to catch you before it got too late in the day, but I was going to set up my new camera, or my new microphone rather. So by the next time we talk,
that's going to be a big upgrade, I think.
Yeah, it's got all that stuff built into it, so it makes it that much easier. I'm using an Elgato 3.
The audio is very good.
You know,
I can't really say much on the audio.
Yeah, so this one, it's got my pop screen and everything. That one has one too.
Yeah,
but you got to make sure that I'm not getting those peaks.
Because that SM7B, that's like the podcasting standard, right?
Yeah. It touts itself as a good vocal mic too. So yeah, it's very dynamic, and that's the hope. I'm doing some, in addition to the podcast, I'm doing some gameplay videos and stuff too on my other system, which is sitting over here.
What kind of gameplay videos are you doing?
So Carrie and I are in the process of looking at what's a thing called backseat gaming. So I'm gonna start playing the new Silent Hill 2 remake, which I've done a playthrough on my own all the way through, and I got the most depressing version, like ending of all the endings. You know, it's the ending where I guess the main protagonist just drives off a cliff, and that's the end of it. I'm like, yeah, real excited. 30 hours into the game, that's the ending. I'm like, a real positive message for that game. No, I mean the game is a psychological thriller. I mean, you have to know what you're getting into. When
Dude,
you get
that's
into
modern horror, though.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
You are kind of into it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But the idea behind it is that there's one person playing. You got somebody else on camera dictating how to progress in the game. And then there's dialogue between the two, and hilarity will ensue, right? You know?
Cool, yeah. Is that a thing? Backseat gaming? Is that like a...
We're either making it up, or we're giving a label to something that already exists, or some combination of the two.
Cool.
But it promises to be a fun experiment, and
it sounds hilarious.
you know. But I also have some other games too that I downloaded. Games I've played as well. There's a indie studio game called Cube, and it's spelled Qube with a period for each letter. And I don't know that even represents anything, but the game itself was really neat. Like you land in this environment and you have to just kind of explore the environment and figure out how things work. And it's incredibly intuitive and it's incredibly simple for the first like quarter to a third of the game. And then the puzzles get a lot more complex. And the things you have to do with the small handful of tools that you're provided in the environment to go to the next stage, it's like Portal. You know what I mean? It's like it's trying to get from point A to point B, and it gets progressively more and more difficult. And it's a blast. Like it plays with like your left brain, your right brain, and environmental.
You're exhausted when you're finished. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to put it down sometimes, and then you'll be doing something else. You know, like, oh, wait, if I did this and that on that screen, I bet you, I got to go play it now. Because it's like problem solving 101, you know. But that's kind of cool too. We'll probably do something with that, because then somebody else is, now you got two brains trying to solve puzzles, you know. But it's cool, fun stuff.
Yeah, that sounds.
You got to change it up. Self-promoting all the time just ends up on deaf ears. So you gotta find ways to keep people entertained, but also be like, hey, by the way, I also have some music if you want to use it for your content. Blah blah blah. So that's the other thing. I'm doing a lot of this year, interviewing other creators or other composers, but also other content creators, and getting to know them better and everything. And so far, it's been really freaking cool. It's been cool to get to know my people. A lot.
We are hermits.
It's true. If left to our own devices, we're going to stay in these studios and not communicate with anybody. So it's a skill and a muscle that needs to be exercised pretty regularly.
Yep, for sure.
Well, let's not make this another 9-month ordeal. Let's make sure we talk a little more frequently this year. And I will pull you out of your part. I'll pull you out of your hobbit hole more often.
That needs to be done. I mean, just if the dot is green, just call, because I mean, I'm desperate for some social interaction.
All right. Well, that you're giving me an open invite.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for. You're gonna like the dot's green, but I'm in the middle of a recording. Well, of course, I'll give you your space there. I understand that. Don't want to break that, especially when you're like grooving on something new, man. I don't want to do that.
No. But then I'll let you know. It's fine. It's fine. Nothing in my life is that important.
Well, cool to have you today, Alex. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.